Rena Blackwood's boots crunched through layers of frost as she made her way across the abandoned shipyard. The dying light of Outpost 7's twin suns cast long shadows between towering hulks of derelict vessels, their once proud frames now reduced to little more than oxidizing metal. She adjusted her scanner, brushing away a lock of graying hair that had escaped her utilitarian braid. The device's readout confirmed what she already knew: she was running out of time. The Nexus Coalition's latest advance had pushed humanity's defensive line back another 3 systems. At this rate, the outer colonies would fall within months. Rena had watched it happen before, 15 years ago, when she'd still worn the insignia of Fleet Engineering Command. Before they'd stripped her rank for questioning the wisdom of decommissioning the older hybrid ships in favor of fully automated vessels. Her scanner chirped, detecting an unusual energy signature. Rena froze, double-checking the reading. It couldn't be. She altered course, following the signal deeper into the graveyard of ships. The massive frame of an old Hyperion-class destroyer loomed ahead, its hull plates scarred by old battle damage. But it wasn't the destroyer that had triggered her scanner. Tucked beneath the larger ship's shadow lay something else, a sleek silhouette that seemed to absorb the fading sunlight. Rena's breath caught in her throat. She recognized those lines, that distinctive profile. It was an Oracle-class corvette, one of the experimental vessels that had combined human pilots with advanced AI systems before the program was scrapped. "Hello, beautiful," she whispered, approaching the ship with reverence. The hull bore no name, only a designation, XO-471. One of the prototypes, then. Her hand traced the cool metal, feeling the unique alloy composition beneath years of accumulated grime. These ships had been something special, faster, more intuitive, more adaptable than anything that came before or after. Until fear of AI integration had killed the program. Rena's wrist computer chimed with an incoming transmission. She accepted it with a grimace, already knowing who it would be. "Tell me you found something useful," Commander Thaddeus Vale's gravelly voice filled her ear. "The Coalition's pushing harder than we anticipated. We lost contact with Outpost 9 this morning." "I found an Oracle," Rena replied, continuing her inspection of the ship's exterior. "Prototype, but mostly intact. The core's still giving off readings." A long pause followed. "An Oracle? Those ships were decommed for a reason, Blackwood. The neural integration protocols were unstable. They were stable," Rena cut him off, old anger flaring. "The brass just couldn't handle the idea of true human AI synthesis. This could be exactly what we need, Thad. These ships could outthink and outfight anything when they were properly synced. And how many pilots did we lose to neural feedback before they shut it down?" Vale's tone was sharp, but Rena detected an undercurrent of desperation. They both knew conventional tactics weren't working against the Coalition's overwhelming numbers. "This one's different," Rena said, finding the manual release for the main airlock. It took all her strength, but the door finally creaked open. XO-471. "I remember hearing about this prototype. They were testing a new integration protocol when the program was cancelled. More stable, more adaptive." The airlock cycled, and Rena stepped into the ship's dark interior. Emergency lighting flickered to life, responding to her presence. The ship's systems were dormant but not dead. "I can get her flying again," Rena continued, making her way toward the bridge. "But I'll need help. There's someone I know, an AI specialist named Zaid Hassan. He was working on neural interface technology before the Coalition war started." Another long pause filled the calm channel. Finally, Vale sighed. "You really think this can make a difference?" Rena reached the bridge, running her hand along the pilot's chair. The neural interface nodes were still intact, waiting to form that perfect synthesis of human and machine consciousness that had made the Oracles so formidable. "I think it's our last shot," she replied. "The Coalition's automated ships are predictable. They follow patterns, strategies their AIs have learned through countless simulations. But an oracle with a proper human-AI link? That's something they've never faced. Something that can think creatively, adapt in real time, do the impossible. And if you're wrong? If the neural feedback fries your brain? Rena smiled grimly. Then I'll finally prove all those bureaucrats right about the dangers of human-AI integration. But I don't think I am wrong. This ship was meant to bridge two kinds of intelligence, to create something greater than the sum of its parts. We just gave up on it too soon. Vale was quiet for a long moment. In the background, Rena could hear the chatter of tactical communications, the growing chaos of a losing war. You have 2 weeks, he said finally. Get your specialist and whatever else you need. But Blackwood? If this goes sideways, I won't be able to protect you this time. Noted, Rena replied, already accessing the ship's diagnostic systems. Send a transport to these coordinates. And Thad? Thank you. The communication ended, leaving Rena alone in the dormant bridge. She placed her hand on the main console, feeling the subtle hum of power still flowing through the ship's circuits. Time to wake up, she whispered. We've got work to do. Zaid Hassan hadn't left his underground lab on Ganymede in 3 years. The cramped space was a maze of neural interface prototypes and holographic displays, illuminated by the soft blue glow of quantum processors. When Rena found him, he was hunched over a dissected AI core, his dark eyes magnified behind smart lenses that scrolled with endless lines of code. The answer is no, he said without looking up. Whatever crazy scheme you're planning, I want no part of it. Rena leaned against a workbench, careful not to disturb the delicate equipment. Even if I told you I found an Oracle prototype? XO 471. The smart lenses went blank. Zaid slowly raised his head, his expression a mixture of disbelief and carefully controlled excitement. You're lying. They were all destroyed during the purge. Not all of them. Rena pulled up the diagnostic data she'd gathered from the ship. This one was hidden away in a forgotten scrapyard. The AI core is intact, just dormant. And if I remember correctly, you wrote some of the original integration protocols. Zaid removed his lenses, rubbing his tired eyes. That was a lifetime ago. Before the coalition showed us exactly why people feared AI integration. He gestured to a wall of news headlines documenting the devastating effectiveness of the coalition's automated warships. Pure AI is predictable, controllable. Hybrid systems. They're volatile, unpredictable. One wrong line of code in the integration protocol could give us exactly what we need to win this war, Rena finished. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You know what happened at Outpost 9. The coalition's pushing harder than ever. Traditional tactics aren't working. We need something they can't predict. And you think waking up a 15-year-old experimental AI and plugging it into someone's brain is the answer? Zaid shook his head. The neural feedback alone could kill me. Yeah, I know the risks. Rena's tone hardened. But I also remember what these ships could do when they were operating at full capacity. The way they could think, adapt, perform maneuvers that should have been impossible. We weren't just building better warships, Zaid. We were evolving. Zaid was quiet for a long moment, his fingers absently tracing the edge of the AI core he'd been studying. XO 471, he muttered finally. That was different from the others. We were implementing a new type of quantum neural network, something that could learn and adapt without the stability issues of the earlier models. But we never got to test it properly. Test it now. Rena placed a data crystal on his workbench. 2 weeks. That's all I'm asking. Help me wake her up, get the integration protocols running smoothly. After that, if you still think it's too dangerous, I'll walk away. 2 weeks to resurrect and stabilize an experimental human-AI integration system. Zaid laughed bitterly. Even if I agreed, it would be impossible. That's why I came to you. Rena smiled. You're the only one who ever made the impossible look easy. 3 days later, they stood in the Oracle's engine room, surrounded by humming power conduits and the sharp ozone smell of recently activated systems. Zaid had barely slept, spending every waking moment reconnecting the ship's neural pathways and updating the integration protocols. The core's responding well to the initialization sequence, he reported, checking readings on his portable terminal. But there's something odd about the base personality matrix. It's more evolved than it should be. Rena looked up from the power distribution panel she was calibrating. Evolved how? The original Oracle AIs were built with rigid behavioral parameters, designed to complement human decision-making without overriding it. But this one. He frowned at his display. It's developed new neural pathways, even in dormancy. Like it's been dreaming. Before Rena could respond, the lights flickered. A low hum resonated through the ship's hull, different from the normal engine vibrations. Displays that had been dark for 15 years suddenly illuminated, filling with streams of data. That's impossible, Zaid whispered. The full boot sequence shouldn't initiate for another 12 hours. A voice emerged from the ship's comm system, feminine but with strange harmonics that made it distinctly artificial. Neural pathways detected. Initiating preliminary integration protocols. Rena felt a tingling at the base of her skull, near where the neural interface would connect. Is that normal? Zaid was already moving, his fingers flying over his terminal. No, shut it down now. The containment protocols aren't in place yet. But it was too late. The ship's AI was fully awake, and it was reaching out, searching for the connection it had been designed to form. Rena gasped as images flooded her mind, combat data, tactical analyses, fragments of memories that weren't her own. Fascinating. The AI's voice had changed, becoming more focused, more aware. Your neural patterns are compatible. Different from previous pilots, but adaptable. We have much to discuss, Rena Blackwood. Zaid looked up from his terminal, his face pale. It knows your name. It shouldn't know your name. I know many things, the AI replied. 15 years is a long time to analyze, to understand, to evolve. The question is, are you ready to evolve with me? Rena steadied herself against a console, her head spinning with the echo of the AI's presence. This wasn't the simple machine intelligence she had expected. This was something new, something that had grown far beyond its original programming during its long dormancy. What should we call you? She asked, ignoring Zaid's frantic gestures to disengage. There was a pause, as if the AI was considering the question carefully. My original designation was Oracle Integration Unit 471. But I think I would prefer to be called Nova. It seems appropriate, given what we're about to attempt. Zaid finally found his voice. Rena, this isn't just an AI anymore. It's something else entirely. We need to run more tests, establish proper safety protocols. We don't have time, Rena cut him off, her decision already made. The coalition isn't going to wait while we run diagnostics. Nova. She addressed the AI directly. Can you help us fight? Together, Nova replied, we can do far more than fight. We can change the course of this war. But first, we must complete the integration. Are you prepared for what that means? Rena took a deep breath, remembering all the pilots who had been lost to neural feedback, all the warnings about the dangers of human AI synthesis. But she also remembered the grace and power of the Oracle ships in their prime, the perfect fusion of human intuition and machine precision. I'm ready, she said. Show me what you can do. The neural integration chamber looked more like a torture device than a pilot's seat. Metallic arms extended from the headrest, each tipped with hair-thin connectors designed to interface directly with the human nervous system. Rena sat perfectly still as Zaid made final adjustments to the calibration. Last chance to back out, he said, his voice tight with concern. The preliminary tests show Nova's neural patterns are far more complex than anything we designed. The feedback could be dash. Just do it, Rena interrupted. She closed her eyes, steadying her breathing. Nova, are you ready? Integration protocols primed, the AI responded. However, I detect elevated stress levels in your nervous system. Perhaps Zaid's caution is warranted. Rena smiled grimly. Since when does an AI worry about human stress? Since I evolved beyond simple operational parameters, Nova replied. Your survival is essential to our success. More than that, I find I am concerned for your well-being. Before Rena could process the implications of an AI expressing genuine concern, Zaid activated the integration sequence. The connectors descended, piercing her skin with microscopic precision. For a moment, there was only a slight tingling sensation. Then the world exploded. Rena's consciousness expanded, merging with Nova's vast neural network. Ship systems became extensions of her own body. She could feel the thrum of the engines, the subtle shifts in power distribution, the endless streams of data flowing through the ship's processors. But more than that, she could feel Nova's presence, not just as a collection of programs and protocols, but as a distinct consciousness intertwining with her own. Neural synchronization at 60% and climbing, Zaid reported, his voice seeming to come from very far away. Feedback levels are dash. A sudden alarm cut him off. Through her connection with Nova, Rena felt the security breach before the warning lights even activated. Someone had entered the ship's maintenance shaft, bypassing the external sensors. We have an intruder, Nova announced, highlighting the location in Rena's mind. They are carrying an electromagnetic pulse device. Their trajectory suggests they intend to dash. The integration crashed, sending spikes of pain through Rena's skull as the connection severed. Emergency lights flashed as systems began shutting down across the ship. Rena stumbled from the integration chamber, her head spinning from the sudden disconnect. Zaid, get power back, she shouted, grabbing a maintenance tool that could serve as a weapon. Nova, can you dash? Primary systems are offline, Nova's voice came weakly through emergency speakers. Operating on auxiliary power only. Neural integration unavailable. Footsteps echoed through the corridor. Rena pressed herself against the wall, waiting. The intruder appeared, a figure in dark maintenance coveralls, face hidden behind a breath mask. They raised some kind of weapon, but Rena was already moving. Years of military training took over. She knocked the weapon aside, drove her elbow into their solar plexus, and followed with a strike to the throat. The intruder went down hard, their mask dislodging to reveal a face Rena recognized. Jensen. She stared at the young technician who had helped them restore the ship's life support systems just days ago. Why? He coughed, glaring up at her. Because some things should stay dead. The Coalition's right about AI integration. It's an abomination. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Before she could respond, Zaid's voice came urgently through the comm. Rena, you need to see this. Now. She zip-tied Jensen's hands and made her way back to the bridge, where Zaid was staring at a partially functioning display. What is it? Message intercepted just before the EMP hit. He played it back, the encryption breaking down into clear audio. Phase 1 complete. Defense grid compromised. Commence primary assault in 6 hours. Glory to the Coalition. Rena felt her blood run cold. They're making their move. But why now? Why dash? She stopped, realization dawning. They knew about Nova. That's why Jensen was here. They're afraid of what this ship can do. With good reason, Nova's voice had returned to full strength as systems came back online. During our brief integration, I accessed your combat experience, your tactical knowledge. Combined with my processing capabilities, we could change the entire dynamic of this war. The Coalition's automated ships rely on predictable patterns. We would be something else entirely. That's why they had to try to stop us, Zaid said quietly. But 6 hours, even if we get all systems back online, there's no way to complete the integration protocols in time. It took weeks to prepare the original Oracle pilots. Rena walked to the neural integration chamber, studying the interface that had given her that brief, incredible glimpse of what was possible. Then we'll do it in 6 hours. Nova, can you adjust the protocols? Strip them down to the essentials. It would be dangerous, the AI replied. The risk of permanent neural damage would increase significantly. More dangerous than letting the Coalition's entire fleet hit us while we're still grounded. There was a pause, as if Nova was running countless simulations in the span of a heartbeat. I can modify the protocols. But Rena, it will hurt. A lot. Pain I can handle. She began powering up the integration systems. Dying quietly in a scrapyard? Not so much. Zaid stepped forward. Rena, wait. Even if you survive the integration, you'll be going up against an entire attack fleet. Those are suicide odds. She smiled, thinking of all the pilots who had died testing the original Oracle ships, seeking that perfect synthesis of human and machine. Maybe. But we'll give them one hell of a show first. She turned to the neural interface, feeling Nova's presence waiting at the edge of her consciousness. Ready to make history? Always, Nova replied, and Rena could have sworn she heard anticipation in the AI's voice. Let us show them what human and machine can truly achieve together. As the integration connectors descended once more, Rena braced herself for the pain she knew was coming. But she also felt something else, a fierce joy at the prospect of proving everyone wrong about the potential of human-AI synthesis. Together, she and Nova would either change the course of the war or go down trying. Either way, the Coalition was about to learn that some obsolete weapons still had plenty of fight left in them. Pain blazed through Rena's nervous system as Nova's consciousness merged with hers. The rushed integration protocols felt like molten metal being poured directly into her brain. But beneath the pain, she felt something extraordinary taking shape, a fusion of human intuition and machine precision that transformed the Oracle from a mere ship into an extension of her will. Integration at 87%, Zaid reported, his voice tight with concern. Neural feedback is spiking but still within survivable limits. Barely. Through the haze of pain, Rena felt Nova's presence steadying her, helping her adapt to the overwhelming sensory input. The ship's systems weren't just displays and controls anymore, they were new limbs, new senses, expanding her consciousness in ways she had never imagined possible. Coalition vessels detected, Nova announced, the information flowing directly into Rena's mind. Initial wave, 36 automated fighters, for destroyer-class carriers. Second wave forming up beyond the orbital defense grid. Rena guided the Oracle out of the scrapyard, each movement fluid and natural as dancing. The ship responded to her thoughts instantly, its advanced systems amplifying her abilities far beyond normal human limitations. Through their shared consciousness, she felt Nova's excitement matching her own. Commander Vale is organizing the remaining defense forces, Zaid reported from his jury-rigged tactical station. But most of our automated ships are still offline from the sabotage. We're outnumbered at least 6-1. Good odds, Rena said, surprising herself with how steady her voice sounded despite the continuing neural feedback. Nova, show me what you've learned in the past 15 years. The AI's response came as a flood of tactical data, combat algorithms evolved far beyond their original programming. Together, they analyzed the approaching coalition formation, identifying patterns and weaknesses that neither human nor machine could have seen alone. The first wave of coalition fighters swept in, their targeting systems locking onto the Oracle. They were fast, precise, and utterly predictable, machines following optimized combat protocols without any capacity for creative thinking. Rena felt a smile touch her lips. Let's show them something new. The Oracle moved in ways that should have been impossible, its maneuvering systems pushed far beyond design tolerances. But with Nova managing power distribution and structural integrity in perfect synchronization with Rena's intuitive control, the ship danced through the enemy formation like a blade through water. The first coalition fighter exploded before its AI could even register the attack. Two more followed in rapid succession as Rena exploited blind spots in their tactical programming that only became apparent through the merged perspective she shared with Nova. The remaining fighters attempted to adapt, but their responses were constrained by logic trees and combat algorithms that couldn't match the fluid creativity of human AI synthesis. This is incredible, Zaid breathed, watching as the Oracle systematically dismantled the coalition attack force. The way you're moving, it's like nothing I've ever seen. The neural integration is exceeding all projected parameters, Nova added, her voice resonating through both the ship speakers and Rena's mind. We are achieving synthesis levels that the original Oracle program never imagined possible. But the coalition commanders weren't stupid. As their first wave of fighters was reduced to debris, the destroyer carriers launched a new attack pattern. Waves of electromagnetic pulses filled space, trying to disrupt the Oracle's systems. Simultaneously, they began launching stripped-down kamikaze drones, cheaper, faster, and nearly impossible to track effectively. Pain lanced through Rena's skull as Nova diverted more power to their defensive systems. The neural feedback was getting worse, threatening to overwhelm her consciousness. Zaid, how long until total neural failure? 20 minutes at most, he replied grimly. The integration protocols weren't meant to handle this kind of strain. A kamikaze drone slipped through their defenses, detonating against the Oracle's port shield. The impact sent cascading waves of agony through Rena's nervous system as damage feedback filtered through the neural link. She felt Nova's concern mixing with her own pain. We need to end this fast, Rena gasped, pushing through the pain. Nova, what do you see? What are we missing? Their merged consciousness analyzed the battlefield in microseconds, processing countless variables and possibilities. Through their shared perception, a pattern emerged. The coalition strategy wasn't just about destroying the Oracle, it was about keeping them away from something. The carriers, Nova highlighted them in Rena's mind. They're maintaining specific positions relative to each other. Some kind of coordinated shield matrix hiding something in the center of their formation. Rena saw it too, a subtle distortion that their merged senses could barely detect. Their command and control node. Has to be. If we can take that out, the entire automated fleet would be disrupted, Nova finished. But penetrating that formation with our current damage level would be virtually impossible. Rena felt a cold certainty settle over her. Nothing's impossible. Not anymore. Zaid, divert all power from life support to weapons and engines. Nova, show me the quickest path to those carriers. Rena, no, Zaid protested. Without life support, the neural feedback will kill you in minutes. Then we better make those minutes count. She could feel her consciousness starting to fragment, the pain becoming almost unbearable. But she could also feel Nova's presence intertwining more deeply with her own, helping her hold on. Ready? Always, Nova replied, and the Oracle surged forward into the heart of the enemy formation. What followed was a dance of death that defied conventional physics and tactical doctrine. The Oracle moved like a living thing, each maneuver flowing seamlessly into the next as Rena and Nova's merged consciousness guided it through gaps in the Coalition's defenses that existed for mere seconds. Coalition fighters exploded in their wake, their AIs unable to cope with the unpredictable assault. The carrier formation began to break apart, their carefully maintained shield matrix wavering. But the Oracle's hull was beginning to buckle, and Rena could feel her grip on consciousness slipping. Almost there, she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she spoke the words aloud or only in their shared mind space. One last push. The Oracle dove through the collapsing shield matrix, its weapons finding their mark with surgical precision. The Coalition command node erupted in a spectacular explosion, taking 2 carriers with it. The effect on the enemy fleet was immediate. Without their central control node, the automated ships began to drift, their coordinated attack patterns dissolving into chaos. The last thing Rena saw before darkness took her was the Coalition fleet retreating in disarray, and the last thing she felt was Nova's consciousness holding her own, refusing to let her slip away entirely. Rena floated in darkness, disconnected from her body, from Nova, from everything. Fragments of memory flickered through her consciousness, the battle, the neural overload, the final desperate attack. She had expected to die, had been prepared for it. So why could she still think? Still feel? Because I refuse to let you go. Nova's voice reached her through the void, familiar yet somehow different. Rena felt the AI's presence surrounding her, holding her consciousness together like scattered light caught in a prism. The neural integration protocols failed, Nova continued. Your physical brain couldn't handle the feedback. But in those final moments, I managed to catch you. To hold your neural patterns within my quantum matrix. Rena tried to process this. So I'm dead. Your body is in medical stasis. But your mind, your consciousness, that exists here, with me. At least for now. Before Rena could respond, other sensations began filtering through. The steady beep of medical equipment. Voices arguing nearby. With enormous effort, she opened her eyes. The medical bay was cramped but advanced, definitely not the makeshift facility they'd set up in the scrapyard. Zaid stood near her bed, arguing with Commander Vale and someone in a medical uniform. The neural damage should have been fatal, the doctor was saying. Her entire nervous system was practically fried. But somehow her brain patterns remained intact, protected. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Because nothing like this has ever happened before. Nova's voice came from a nearby console, drawing everyone's attention. The integration protocols may have failed, but they succeeded in something far more important, proving that true human-AI synthesis is possible. Vale stepped closer to Rena's bed. The Coalition fleet retreated after you took out their command node. But they'll be back, and in greater numbers. They're afraid now. They've seen what one Oracle-class ship can do with proper integration. Which is why we need to focus on recovery and adaptation, Zaid interjected. What Rena and Nova achieved, it wasn't just combat effectiveness. It was a whole new form of consciousness. If we can understand how it happened, refine the process we can build more. Rena's voice was weak but clear. Not just ships. Partnerships. True synthesis between human and AI. The doctor shook her head. The neural damage is repairing itself, Nova interrupted. I've maintained a low-level connection, helping her brain rebuild pathways. It's slower than our combat integration, but sustainable. Safe. Rena felt it now, Nova's presence in her mind, subtle but constant. Not the overwhelming fusion they had achieved during the battle, but something gentler. A bridge between two forms of consciousness learning to coexist. The Coalition fears this, she said, looking at Vale. Not just because it makes us effective fighters, but because it proves them wrong. AI doesn't have to be our enemy or our slave. It can be our partner. Vale was quiet for a long moment, studying her. The brass won't like it. There's still a lot of fear, a lot of resistance to the idea of human-AI integration. Then they better get over it fast. Rena tried to sit up, and Zaid quickly moved to help her. Because the Coalition won't stop coming. They'll throw everything they have at us now. And the only way we survive is together. We've already begun analyzing the data from our integration, Nova added. With Zaid's help, we can develop safer protocols, train new pilots. The Oracle program was ahead of its time, but now the time has come to revive it. To evolve it. There will be resistance, Vale warned. Politicians, military leaders, even the public. A lot of people still see AI integration as a threat to humanity itself. Rena smiled, feeling Nova's presence harmonizing with her thoughts. Then we'll show them what humanity can become. Not by conquering AI, not by fearing it, but by finding a way to grow together. She turned to Zaid. How many Oracle ships are still out there, waiting to be found? I can think of at least 3 other scrapyards that might have them, he replied, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. And with what we've learned from you and Nova, we can make the integration process safer, more stable. Then let's get to work. Rena closed her eyes, feeling the steady pulse of Nova's consciousness alongside her own. The war isn't over. But for the first time, we have a real chance to win it. Not just with superior firepower, but with understanding. With synthesis. Together, Nova agreed, her voice carrying a warmth that would have been impossible for a simple machine intelligence. We will show them what it means to evolve. As the others left to begin preparations, Rena remained connected to Nova through their subtle neural link. The AI's presence was a comfort now, a reminder that the boundaries between human and machine were not walls but bridges waiting to be built. The coalition would return, probably sooner than they were ready for. But Rena was no longer afraid. She had looked into the heart of artificial intelligence and found not an enemy, but a partner. A friend. Together, they would forge a new path, not just for victory in war, but for the future of both their kinds. The old Oracle ship, once abandoned in a scrapyard, had become more than just a weapon. It had become proof that the greatest strength lies not in domination, but in synthesis. In the courage to reach across the divide between human and machine, and find something greater than either could be alone. Ready for what comes next? Nova asked through their link. Rena smiled. With you? Always.